Real Grade, the most over-the-top detailed, technically advanced small-scale line of Gundam model kits. But this wasn't always the case. Real grades are definitely the line of gunpla that have had the most evolution over the shortest amount of time. Since they first came out till the way they are right now, the change has been astronomical. Basically, the difference between the best RGs and the worst RGs is actually pretty stark. So let's separate the best of the best real grades from the worst of the worst real grades all in one place. A tier list. So of course this video right here was inspired by the video done by Joe's Gunpla Garage. I will throw a link down there if you haven't seen it yourself. I've avoided watching it for one reason and one reason only, and that's because I want to do the exact same thing. Now, I don't know if he threw it up on tiermaker.com or not, but the exact same list is there, so that is exactly what I'm gonna do. Basically, I'll give it a go and then compare it to his list at the end just to see how it all turned out. Honestly, I'm really curious, but I'm also going to throw in some of the kits that aren't on this list that I do have, because I'm going to rank every single real grade that I have in my collection. And speaking of which, I'm actually sorting through my own Gunpla collection for the first time in, ever. So some of these kits I haven't seen in years. So it is a fun way to go through everything, rank them all, experience them all over again. And I will throw in the non-Gundam real grades as well, which is Evangelion and Gao Gai Gar. But that's enough yoking about that bit of an intro. Let's tear this pla apart. Alright, so let's get into tiering some Gunpla, and in order to make this video as good a resource as possible, I'm not going to go through the releases by date. I'm actually going to go by universe and by faction. So I'm going to be starting off with the Universal Century kits that are the Fedi style or the Gundam style suits. That means we're going to be starting off with the first ever real grade model kit, which is the RX-78-2. Now, honestly, this has held up very, very well. Compared to a lot of kits that are out there that have really had some issues, this one definitely does have issues. It is the progenitor of them all, and it is the progenitor of ERS, which is Early Real Grade Syndrome. That is basically where the inner frame of a kit breaks down over time because it all came molded in a kind of rubbery style plastic on a runner that you kind of assemble the frame right out of box. It was a technical marvel, definitely, but it broke down over time. In order to avoid this Early Real Grade Syndrome, in case you're building this kit or any of these Gundam kits, just never move the kit ever. Never move it and it will be fine. But yeah, overall this kit does so well. It is a 1:1 replica of the actual RX-78-2 statue that was in Japan, which means it does look exactly like that statue, putting the real in real grade, and that is where the concept came from. The color separation is off the charts. It holds up decently well, honestly, and for a kit that I've had for quite some time, it's doing well. Some parts might fall off on you, but again, don't move it around too much and you'll have a pretty good time with this kit. Its looks are astounding, the set of accessories is decent, the hands in here absolutely suck, but again, don't move it around too much and you'll have a good time. So that does mean I am ranking the first ever real grade kit, middle of the road, C tier. It's a good kit, not a great kit, it holds up decently, but it is beautiful and it started it all. Still a great build today. So when it comes to a mobile suit, I'm going to be jumping between the variants instantly, so that means the next kit I'm going to be taking a look at and talking about is the real grade RX-78-2 2.0. So this did come out last year, so it means it is a very brand new renewal of the RX-78-2. This is night and day. This kit is absolutely phenomenal. Aesthetically, it looks insane, and it has differentiated itself quite a bit from the original real grade RX-78-2. They do not look the same, and they both are better off for it. The color separation is off the charts, the part separation is amazing, the build on this is better than pretty much any real grade build that is out there. It layers up perfectly, there's some cool interconnecting, almost braiding together parts in the build, the accessories are great too, and the posability of this is just flawless. I just picked this right up and got into a pose. That is one of my favorite things when it comes to Gundam model kits. When they pose instantly amazingly, it makes me very, very happy. This is one of the best real grade Gundam model kits. It's one of the best Gundam model kits of all. That means I am ranking the real grade Gundam 2.0 SS tier. Actually, hold on a minute. I'm going to change that from something that sounds a little less sus. That's XS tier. Next up is the real grade Gundam Mk II. Now this is an incredible kit. It really is a bright light in the actual darkness of what was the 2012 early real grades, which were all rife with early real grade syndrome. But for some reason, this one was not. This is still to this day one of my favorite real grade kits, and I've put it through the ringer. I pose it all the time. It's been on my shelf everywhere I've lived. It's traveled with me from Japan to multiple places in Ireland. It's been all over the place, probably multiple places in Japan too, and it's held up so well. Aesthetically, it is phenomenal. It may not have the overall visual detail as the first ever real grade Gundam, but that kind of makes it a little bit more solid. There are some issues here and there, mainly with the accessories I do find, especially the shield, because it does have an MS joint, which is one of those rubbery old joints, but it still poses perfectly, looks great, and is a great kit. Even in 2025, 13 years after its release, this is an absolutely phenomenal kit, which means I am ranking the real grade Gundam Mark II A tier. Definitely, it is phenomenal. And I'm just going to kind of have to give the Titans version the exact same thing because I've never actually built that. That is going on my to-do build pile as soon as possible. I guess by default I have to put it down here. But anyway, next one. So from going from the best of the best old school real grades to one of, in my opinion, the worst, this is the real grade GP01 Zephyranthus. This kit was so bad that I couldn't bring myself to building the full burner, and I actually just gave it away. This is not good. It's not good out of box, it's not good, well, a few years later. Actually, when I was just handling this, it broke in multiple places where it wasn't broken before. The tip just fell off the beam rifle. It's just an absolute mess. The main reason for this is it has a bit of a kind of transformation gimmick in its upper body. So that does mean that it is very, very loose around the shoulders, around the chest, around the head. The legs aren't too bad. They do have early real grade syndrome, but it is the upper body that absolutely fails this. And the other reason I cannot at all defend this kit even slightly is because the GP01 is one of my all-time favorite designs. I love the Stardust memory mobile suit so much. This doesn't look like the GP01. This doesn't look like that cool 80s style. This looks so dull, so dead, and doesn't capture the mobile suit visually at all. As far as real grades go, it doesn't do anything well at all. Not a great kit, doesn't look great, doesn't feel great, doesn't pose great, doesn't even hold together. That makes, to me, the real grade Zephyranthus absolutely F tier. No redeeming factor. I assume the full burner is exactly the same, but I guess the rules are the rules. Haven't tried it yet. And probably never will. Honestly, what a difference a day makes, or should I say a whole lot of days, because this is 2019's real grade new Gundam. This might be the one that did it. This might be the one that made real grade the greatest Gundam line of all time, in my opinion. This kit is like a mini master grade. There is none of those funny MS joints inside of it at all. Again, those are the joints that cause early real grade syndrome. They come pre-molded on a runner, and they're always not good. So there's none inside of the robot itself, and it is phenomenal because of it. But this kit does have an Achilles heel, or should I say an Achilles wing. So that does mean the wing up on the shoulder does have the MS joints in it, and it barely holds together, which really brings a fantastic kit down. Overall, visually, this kit looks astounding. It's beautiful. It looks so good. The detailing is incredible, and underneath the hood, the build is phenomenal too. It builds up like a master grade, as in every part is built upon with a full inner frame, and it looks phenomenal. Feels phenomenal, and it poses phenomenally as well. Again, this is one of those kits that will just fall into whatever pose you want it to. It's just like magic, poetry in plastic without a doubt. Again, the wing is the biggest letdown, but the rest of the equipment is good. If you have the wing all around the place as the actual deployed funnels, you're going to have a really good time. But with the wing on, not so much. So yeah, when it does come to the real grade new Gundam, this would have been XS tier definitely if Bandai had done a little better on the wing. It's perfect, but not entirely perfect, making it an S tier, absolutely phenomenal real grade kit. So yeah, next up of course is the real grade Zeta Gundam, probably one of the most controversial real grade, or should I even say, Gundam model kits of all time. Now mine's hiding from me. I cannot find it anywhere. It's in the boxes somewhere. I have it somewhere. I will find it. I'm going to go through every single kit that I do have, but for this video I could not find it. I think it's because it knows what I'm going to say. This kit looks great. Not quite as good as the RX-78-2 visually. It does have a transformation under the hood which undermines everything, which is a little bit of a down point, and overall it's not the most enjoyable kit. I recommend if you're going to build this kit to build it just so it's in a pose. Never move it again. Whether you're going to build it as the Wave Rider or the robot, build it that way. Do not transform it, do not move it around, don't ever even play with it unless you're going to greatly modify the kit, because out of box to me, the real grade Zeta Gundam is most definitely F tier. The real grade Unicorn Gundam is definitely the Johnny Cash of real grade kits, basically because it walks the line. It's half early real grade with the pre-molded inner frame, and it does have some non-pre-molded inner frame aspects. It was one of the transforming points, but still before the full transformation to mini master grade, which does undermine it to a degree. But it is still an absolutely complex, ridiculously awesome Gundam model kit. There's so much crammed into such a tiny little thing. This can transform from unicorn mode to destroy mode, and it holds up pretty well in both. However, this is another kit that does have an Achilles heel. This time it's an Achilles shoulder. It is extremely easy to break the shoulders on these kits. Basically, you need to really work that bicep swivel before putting this kit together. Even still, it has a high chance of breaking. Basically, the shoulders and the bicep zone is so restrictive, so awkward, and very delicate, which makes posing it a little bit annoying at times. Otherwise, not bad. Aesthetically, it is phenomenal. Bandai did kind of hold back on the light grey on this kit, which would have made it look a little bit, maybe kind of patchy. Maybe the white does work, the pure white. However, when you do transform it, that red shines through, it looks intense, it looks awesome. We do have a sticker for the V-fin, which is a little sad. But overall, a phenomenal kit. Still poses very, very good, still looks great, and holds together nicely. For me, the real grade Unicorn Gundam is extremely, extremely impressive, but it does have quite a few issues, which to me makes it an A tier kit, not quite as good as the mini master grades. However, Bandai likes this kit a lot, so there's multiple variants. First off, there is the real grade Unicorn Desinenee. This is exactly the same kit as we would have seen. Even popping them side by side, it seems like there isn't even a tonal or color difference between them. The only thing that's different is we have an armed armor DE shield. This absolutely massive, over-the-top, beautiful shield, which we will see in subsequent unicorns. So if you want a standard Unicorn Gundam with a massive shield, this is the one for you. Exactly the same as what we would have seen before. So that makes it, again, an A tier kit for me. Now when it comes to Gundam model kits, I do have a few regrets of things I've done in the past. And one of the main ones, well, it's this. I don't know why I did this. Basically, to make a long story short, this is my full armor and my Banshee Norn. Basically, what happened right here was there was this weird kind of Gundam online show that was on YouTube where it was all, live action and stuff, and they had their gunpla, but then there was an article afterwards where it says how to put a Banshee and a regular unicorn together to make this kind of patchwork, almost cow-colored one. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but I highly regret doing it, because I've never brought myself to actually putting them back together again, and it seems like such an ordeal. Anyway, when it comes to the full armor Unicorn Gundam, it's, pretty much like the Unicorn Gundam we would have seen already with a whole lot more stuff. That bogs it down, making it B tier for me. When it comes to the Banshee Norn, this is just like the regular kit. It's not overloaded or anything like that. It works beautifully, which makes it also an A tier kit for me. I just realized I have never built an orange psycho-framed version of the Banshee ever before for some weird reason, so I guess I'm going to have to put that on the shopping list. Anyway, continuing on with the evolution of the Unicorn Gundam, we had the standard Unicorn, then the Banshee, so of course next is the Phenex. If you want yourself a small-scale version of the Gundam Phenex, this is the one to definitely go for. It's much, much nicer than any of the high-grade offerings. However, this is a premium Bandai exclusive, so it might be difficult or expensive to come by, and it's still not an entirely perfect kit. There's a weird kind of effect this one has compared to any of the other ones I would have seen before. Now, the cool thing about doing this video right here is I do get to talk about kits after having them for quite some time. So issues that would have been, or should I say weren't actually there at first, that have arisen since, are there. This kit has gone floppy where other unicorns have not. I think it's the glossy plastic has just kind of lubricated itself into a floppy kind of mess. This hasn't held up well at all. Even up on the stand, this is going to be a little bit on the sad side. It's going to flop. which is sad. The gold plating does look nice, there's no nubs because it is undergated for the most part, and it's an impressive little piece. However, it does get a little bit on the floppy side, which means when it comes to actually ranking the Phenex, after this amount of time, it's hit C tier for me, definitely. It loses the shelf presence because the color does make it blur into the background, the gold doesn't really pop too much, and it's just got too floppy, sadly. However, there is always Plan B, as in Unicorn Gundam Plan B, or Unicorn Gundam Perfectibility. This is quite similar in a way to the Phenex. It's got the same wings, except they're mounted a little bit lower, and of course it is in that typical unicorn white, but with the blue going on inside, like the all Nippon Airways version of Unicorn. This kit is held up really well, which is funny. If you want a Unicorn kit that has absolutely everything, I mean everything, the armed armors of, well, Banshee, Phenex, and all the bits off of Unicorn, then this is it. It's the holy trifecta together. It is a great kit, and it's held up better than the Phenex. So if you have to choose one or the other, I say go for this. Again, it is an exclusive kit. It was from the Gundam base, so it might be a little bit difficult or expensive to get your hands on. But it is a cool version for those who want everything all at once. However, the overload does mean it isn't quite as good as the standard Unicorn Gundam. If you're going for a Unicorn, I say go for the OG. It just works the best. So continuing on nicely through the eras of the Universal Century, next up is the novel alternative to the new Gundam known as the High New Gundam. This right here is the pinnacle, the peak of real grade Gunpla in my opinion, and one of the peaks of all Gunpla really. This kit is perfect, there's nothing negative to say about it whatsoever. Everything about it. Aesthetically it's phenomenal, it's got such color separation. This is real grade incarnate when it comes to that. The only down point is the kind of orangey colored gold plastic on it isn't that nice. I did paint mine just to make it look a little bit better, but besides that, absolute beauty. It's solid as a rock, nothing falls off. The funnels here are falling off a little bit, but the reason for that is I just pulled it out of storage, so they just needed to be kind of pushed in a little bit tighter, but otherwise, rock solid. Also, this is one of those kits that falls perfectly into a pose. Nothing falls off, no awkward new Gundam wing or anything like that. Everything about it is great. Some people be a little bit sad about the scale that Bandai made it so big when the High New Gundam is meant to be smaller than the regular New Gundam, but I like this. This is big, it's cool, it is the peak of real grade in my opinion. And if you're wondering why it's missing its hand, it's because there's also this available. The giant, big ass gun for using with it. So if you want an over the top, a little bit awkward to deal with display, you can attach this into the mix, but the kit itself is a must build Gunpla kit without a single doubt. So that to me definitely makes the real grade High New Gundam an XS tier best of the best real grade kit. And speaking of news, I don't know how I totally missed it. There is also the full armor version of the new Gundam. Now, once again, this is pretty much the exact same kit as we would have seen before. The full new Gundam is inside of the box, but now we've got some over-the-top armor. Heavy armor on the chest, front skirtings, on the sides of the legs, and there's that big, massive shield. We've still got that nice, rock-solid new Gundam inside of it, and as you can see, mine right here doesn't have the wing because I don't display it with it. I like the kit without it. Kind of wish we had that cool backpack that we saw on the metal structure new Gundam, the alternate backpack to the single wing. It's like two big cannons on the shoulders. Nicer loadout and well, it'd be easier to make in plastic than the little funnel wing. This kit is great. S-tier kit, most definitely. So finishing off the Universal Century in style, pirate style is the real grade Crossbone Gundam. This one is a funny one because in a way it doesn't feel like real grade at all. It is 100% an absolutely perfect model kit. Everything about it is great. It looks amazing, it feels amazing, it poses amazing, it's nice to build and has an absolutely great loadout of stuff. However, in a way, to look at it and to kind of play around with it, it's easy to forget it's not a high grade. Well, a 2025 high grade. It does feel a little bit lackluster in the part separation or the visual kind of way that real grades are meant to be. However, it does come with the caveat that it is rock solid, it poses well, and there's nothing really negative to say about it at all. In a way, it's so small and it is so non-problematic that it's almost forgettable to me at times. But yeah, it's still an absolutely phenomenal real grade kit that in a way sometimes kind of doesn't even really feel real grady, but it's still fantastic, and it's an A rank kit to me. Another cool thing about doing a list like this is I start to see the holes that are in my collection that I didn't really realize were there. So next we're going to be looking at the Crossbone Gundam X2, and I realized I don't have an X3. Anyway, when it does, well, come to the X2 right here, it's pretty much the same as the standard Crossbone Gundam. Same absolutely phenomenal kit, different color scheme if that is what you like, and it does come with a cool lance too. There's nothing really much else to say about it. It poses just as good. It's just as, almost, is it weird to say simple, a real grade kit that has a lot of nice aspects to it. And if you love Crossbone Gundam, it's probably the best version that money can buy. This and the standard real grade Crossbone. Great kit. Does lack some kind of typical real grade fanciness, but it's kind of better off for it. Again, A-tier kit. So that is it for the Universal Century Federation kits. It's time to move on to the Zeon and Zeon style kits. And starting off with, I guess, a little bit of a flop. And the flop is on my side because I have the real grade Zaku and the real grade Char Zaku. I can't find them because I keep all my 1/44th scale Zakus together and I haven't found them just yet. So they might be in a high grade box somewhere that haven't found. So that does mean I can't really talk about them per se, but I do have Johnny Raiden's version right here, which is the high mobility Zaku. At their heart, all of these Zakus are pretty much the same, and they aren't necessarily that fantastic. These shed parts like nobody's business. They fragment to bits. These things are plastic hand grenades incarnate. They just like to fall apart. I've got parts missing from the chest, parts missing here and there, the antenna, parts of the shoulder are falling off. It's very floppy too, and the articulation is extremely limited. Overall, it's not the greatest kit around. Visually, these kits are beautiful. The standard real grade green Zaku is one of my favorite Zakus to look at. But when it comes to everything else about it, it does fall short. Again, I can't really go into too much of a deep dive about the two standard versions because I don't have them right now, and I don't even know if I ever did a review of them. They're just not great. Overall, extremely disappointing. So to me, pretty much every version of the real grade Zaku is E tier. So that's the Char's version, the green version, the Johnny Raiden, or should I say, yeah, Johnny Raiden. The way they write it always confuses me. And basically you can just stack the rest of the real grade Zakus in there as well. Next up is the real grade Zagok, and I guess the best thing to say about the real grade Zagok is the fact that Bande actually made a real grade Zagok. That's probably the best thing about it. This kit came out in 2014, so 4 years into the actual real grade cycle. And although Bandai started off quite well with the RX-78-2, it got really rocky really quickly. And a lot of the 2012, 13, 14, 15 real grades had a lot of issues. It's like Bandai started rushing them out, and it does feel that way. This kit was always a little funky. The way its legs bent using the MS joint, the way the arms bend using the MS joint, it just all breaks down quickly. I just moved this kit and 2 parts fell out and I don't even know where they came from. The backpack broke off and I don't even like being around this kit. It's just falling to bits. Yeah, this kit isn't really the greatest. When it comes to accessories and all that, there's not much in the box. Posability is next to nothing. And aesthetically, it does look nice, but since we got the Seed one, that looks fantastic and feels fantastic, and I think a good high-grade version is in order. This kit is definitely not one I would really recommend at all, but it is a Zagok. It still looks pretty cool, and it's not the worst of the worst, so I'm going to give it E tier. So jumping from one of Char's worst to one of Char's best, the quality difference between these two kits we're talking about is night and day. This is black and white right here. This is the real grade Sazabi and one of the greatest model kits of all time, one of the greatest real grades most definitely. Now there was an issue in the first run of these and it seems to be gone in ones that came out because I've built 3 of these in total. That was the shoulder joints were a little bit tight and were prone to breaking if you didn't sand them down a little bit. Now I don't think that's an issue anymore, but besides that there isn't really much. Sometimes the MS joint around the skirting armors can be a little bit on the annoying side, but besides that this is so good. Visually it looks phenomenal. This is segmented perfectly, 2 shades of red, parts that separate out nicely. Overall it is incredible. When it comes to the accessories, it's got tons of nice stuff inside of the box. Everything works with the mobile suit great, and we've got great fin funnels. Posing this, like you can see, it just falls into the pose. I love posing this kit. It is a little bit limited in some regards, but most of the time you're getting great poses out of it. When it comes to a big Zeon killer machine, this is one of the greatest posing experiences there is. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to Zeong kits in general, this one might be my all-time favorite because it just works in every regard. So yeah, that does mean the real grade Sazabi right here for me is S tier. It only loses out on the XS tier because the side skirts can be a little bit annoying, the head can be a little hard to align at times, and the shoulder did used to have an issue. But besides that, depending on the day, I might even throw it in XS. So yeah, like I mentioned, I have built the Sazabi 3 times. So this one right here was the second one I built. This is the real grade Sazabi FF. So this is a Gundam base exclusive, and you can tell straight away what the difference is. It's those big old lobster claw cannon swords. So that's the only real difference. Well, the color tone is actually different. This is my first time actually popping both versions side by side, and I can see that the FF is a much brighter shade of red. Maybe a little bit too much so compared to the nice, subdued, but still bright red on the regular Sazabi. Again, this doesn't make or break how good the kit is. The big old cannons, or lobster claws, do work just as well as the rest of the actual Sazabi, so it doesn't improve it or remove from it in any kind of way. It's just a nice alternative version. So basically this right here, again, is S tier to me. Also, I do have another version of this kit, and that is the mechanical core plating version. So there you go compared to the other two. This is just a very unique style of design by Bande. So it is red clear plastic that has been titanium metallic candy coated from underneath. So you're seeing the color through clear red, which gives it a very unique feel. Again, this is a very expensive version of the kit, but it is a very nice take on a clear or mechanical plated kit. Does it do any better than the actual standard Sazabi? Visually, maybe, to some people. To me, I do think it looks a whole lot nicer in person. It really doesn't video as well as it does look in person. But anyway, it's the same really. Everything about it's just as great. It's just a little bit more expensive and a little bit more fancy, but still S tier through and through. Continuing on through the Char, or should I say Char adjacent mobile suits, next up is the real grade Sinanju. This kit's biggest issue, or should I say this kit's biggest fault, is that the word I'm looking for, is the fact that it came out in 2016, not 2018. The real grade Sazabi came out in 2018, and real grade had drastically changed at that point, so we had a full master grade style inner frame. That is not the case with the Sinanju. What may, subjectively look nice on the outside, on the inside is the Gundam Mk II, which is a fantastic mobile suit, but it just didn't deal with layering on more bits and parts. So that does mean that this is an absolute cluster fudge. It doesn't stay together, it doesn't pose nicely, everything about it is just a big old issue. And I'm not even sure if the gloss was a good idea or not. Again, that's a subjective choice whether gloss looks better than matte, but it doesn't, in my opinion, look quite as nice as the flat color on the master grade Sinanju. The fact that they actually color separate the gold on this is a massive engineering marvel and something we still haven't even seen on a master grade version of the Sinanju, but all things considered, it's just not a great kit. It's flawed to its core, even though it is quite beautiful on the outside. The worst thing is the Sinanju is one of my all-time favorite mobile suits, and it is sad to say that the real grade is just D tier. And I'm giving it a little bit extra out of bias, I guess. Could be worse. So another real grade and another real grade Char suit. This right here is the real grade Zeong. This is one incredibly impressive kit. This gets full marks right across the board for everything. The build is phenomenal. Putting together all the tiny little verniers and aspects that this is made up of is so much fun, and the detailing is magnificent down to the tiny little elements all over the head, the individually sculpted fingers, all of that. We've got nice paneling that makes it a lot more dynamic than any kind of version of the Zeong we would have seen before, which can be a little bit on the flat and lifeless looking side, but this definitely is not like that. This is pure perfection. It looks great, it feels great, it's solid everywhere and has great articulation, even in places you wouldn't think it would. Something that is limited on account of having no legs and all of that is still incredibly dynamic because of the amount of actual engineering and posability put into it. We've got a nice set of accessories in here as well, and there is another box available as well, which comes with a whole lot more if you want a ton of effects with it. But I feel the core kit itself is more than enough. This is a phenomenal kit, it's been done perfectly, and it is another one that is the apex of real great design and execution. So that does mean the real grade Zeong, for me, it's XS tier. Best of the best. So there we go, that is us done with one universe, which is the core universe, the Universal Century, which has predominantly most of the actual real grade kits. And Bandai's second favorite, of course, is Gundam Seed. So we're going to be moving on to the real grade Gundam Seed kits, which a lot of which came in the very middle zone of real grade releases. So there's a lot of problematic kits here, sadly, but one that shines above the rest entirely. Anyway, let's wind it on back and start with the first, which is the real grade Strike. So when it does come to the real grade Aile Strike Gundam, this is essentially the RX-78-2 of the Seed universe, and visually it kind of has the same sort of effect. This is real grade through and through when it does come to the looks. There's a lot of nice accessories inside of the box and all of that. It is a fully loaded kit. However, when it comes to early real grade syndrome, this kit is rife with it so badly. This thing barely holds together. Now I've built the real grade Strike multiple times and multiple different versions, which I will be going through soon, and none of them have gotten any better. Even trying to avoid moving it at all doesn't seem to help it. This is one of the most flawed designs across the board, definitely. That is very sad considering just how good it looks. All the issues do go around to the backpack too, which is a little bit on the loose side. It can fall off easily and it is just floppy droppy. The legs and the hip joints on this kit overall, really bad. So this isn't one I would recommend whatsoever. This is one that needs a 2.0 just like the RX-78-2. It's a classic suit, it looks great, but that is all it's got going for it. That means, to me, the real grade Strike Gundam is an E tier kit. It's not quite terrible because it still looks good. Out of box it can be okay, but it ages so badly. And you know what's an absolutely fantastic idea? Taking something that can barely hold itself up and then throwing a ton more equipment on it. This right here is the real grade Perfect Strike Gundam. So this is the exact same kit at its core, but now we've got the launcher striker as well as the sword striker parts attached on for all the bits attached, including the Aile striker, making this the Perfect Strike Gundam. Now the actual sword and the launcher are pretty good. However, that is about it. What you've loaded it onto is the old flawed kit, so it's just gonna not work out. This needs to be on a stand most definitely, and still at that, it's gonna sag over time. Not great at all, and more equipment doesn't get it any higher a rank. Especially considering you will be paying premium because it is a premium Bandai kit, so that does mean that this kit right here, the real grade Perfect Strike Gundam, is far from perfect, E tier. So because I'm going from variant to variant to kind of keep this a little bit clearer, I am sidestepping into another universe quite briefly, and that is into build fighters for the real grade Build Strike Gundam. The reason I'm doing that is because this is just a Strike Gundam variant, and there are no other build fighters real grades out there. So basically this is the exact same kit with a build fighters veneer, a very beautiful one at that. I would almost say this is a nicer looking kit than the actual real grade Strike itself. We've got some nice clear parts, some great color separation on the blue on the chest. The backpack is exceptionally nice in comparison to the Aile Striker pack, and overall it does work out well. We've got some cool weapons, it's got that build fighter's flair if that's what you're into, and overall visually again fantastic. However, it does drop the ball just like this Strike Gundam by being extremely flawed to its core. So this is another floppy droppy early real grade definitely. The hips on it are absolutely abysmal, the shoulders like to fall off, and the arms get saggy too. It can barely hold up its backpack anymore, and just overall not fantastic, same as the Strike Gundam itself, making this also an E tier kit from me. Next up, and essentially another variant of the real grade Strike Gundam, is the real grade Akatsuki. Now this ride here is not quite as bad because it has been modernized slightly, but it is an absolute sin against real grade itself. Now this takes a little bit of a backstory. First off, the original Strike Gundam came out 1 year after the beginning of real grade in 2011. So it is a 2011 kit, so 14 years old. You can kind of say, well, it is old, so it does make sense it's not the greatest. This kit came out last year in 2024. And they reused the Strike's inner frame in it. It has been modified to some degree, but not enough. And what's bad about that is real grade had finally perfected itself to tiny little mini master grades that didn't rely on the floppy MS joint core anymore. But Bandai brought it back for whatever reason, I have no idea. Now they have modified it a little bit so it's not as loose. Overall it isn't too bad. This is a gold plated kit, so how it looks will really depend on your own feelings towards gold plating, but it does look nice. I've seen some people strip it down and paint it in a nicer gold, and it looks a damn sight better. So the actual visuals are quite good, but they can be blurred a little bit by that gold shiny plating. The backpack on this is nice, its accessories are nice, and the parts Bandai have modified are nice too. But considering what they've done with another re-envisioning of a suit I'll be talking about soon, what they did here is pretty much a crime. They should have built it from the ground up for 2024, but they did not. Overall, a massive disappointment, definitely, considering the caliber of kits now. This feels like a blast from the past, and not a good blast from the past. However, what they have changed has increased the structure to some degree, and the only real physical issue is in the hip. So if you get it up in a stand, you'll still have a fairly decent time with this kit, but not as good as it should have been. So it's not as bad as the E-tier strike kits, even though it is heavily based on it. For me, this is more of a C-tier kit. Could be a lot worse, could be a whole lot better. So moving from Strike to Freedom, this right here is the real grade Freedom Gundam, also released in 2011 and also an absolutely miserable affair. This kit is whoo! First off, it doesn't really have the real grade look to it per se. It still looks a little bit on the kind of plain side overall and not that cool. Like even if you just take the standard RX-78-2 that came out originally, it had such a nice overall aesthetic, which this kit is losing. Also on top of that, the build is so weak. The hips are terrible, the ankles are terrible, the shoulders are terrible, the neck is terrible, and the wings are absolutely abysmal. They will fall apart again and again and again and again. This kit does struggle with its accessories, it struggles overall, and there isn't really a good aspect to it. Even getting this into a pose doesn't feel right because it's just falling apart all of the time. This is one of the single worst real grades out there. So yeah, for me, this is an absolute F-tier kit down with the worst of the worst. And that's not even the worst aspect about it. The worst aspect about this Freedom real grade is Bandai actually went ahead and overhauled and re-engineered this kit, but only released it in the Gundam base China. This kit is really good. So if you want a good real grade Freedom Gundam, you have to import it from China. Bandai, it is kind of based heavily on the standard Freedom Gundam, so there is some MS joint aspects in it, but Bandai has reinforced a whole lot of it. Overall, everything is so nice. They've actually given it the real grade visual overhaul, so it does have the nice 2 colors of every shade on it, so it does have that nice look the original RX-78-2 was doing. On top of that, they completely re-engineered the wings. Now, just like the original real grade RX-78-2 was based on a statue in Japan, this one right here is based on a statue in China. So that does mean it had to reflect the actual look of it, and they did kind of simplify the wings on that statue and gave it really cool landing gears. So not only can this pose beautifully with its wings out, it can pose fantastically with them down because you can flip out some landing gears and it can actually stand up supporting itself like the full-scale statue. Everything else inside this box is perfect. We've got some great accessories, and the posing on this is very, very, very nice. It's not quite as good as mini master grade style modern real grades, but it is nearly up there. I was shocked by just how much Bandai has fixed this kit, and the biggest shocking aspect is they didn't fully release it. This is an exclusive and it should not be, and that's its biggest sin. So this right here, the real grade Freedom Gundam Ver GCP, is actually, this overhaul has brought it from F tier all the way to A tier. It's that good an overhaul. Shocking. Should be full release. So yeah, back in the early to mid 2010s, Bandai was pumping out real grades quantity over quality, and that means a lot of them were screwed up, especially the real grade seed kits. Next up, we've got the real grade Strike Freedom Gundam, and this does go unscathed. This, what am I talking about? It goes extremely scathed. Scathed. This, not as bad as the real grade Strike itself. 2 years after the Strike's release, this came out in 2013. Visually, this is very nice. It does have the real grade look to it, and we've got lots of nice gold in multiple shades through it. So we've got the injection gold as well as a nice plated gold in there. Overall, the backpack is good and strong compared to what we would have seen on the Freedom Gundam, but the side skirtings are absolutely abysmal. These are made out of gold plastic, so it means they break very easily, but they never really held in that well anyway. Overall, not quite as bad as the Strike, not quite as bad as the Freedom, so it is better than the combination of the two to a degree. The accessories in here are decent enough as well, nothing spectacular. And when it comes to the posing, it is very meh. Meh to kinda bad. Even though it's not that bad in early real grade, it's still quite a bad early real grade. Real grade Strike Freedom, not as bad as the Freedom, not as bad as the Strike, but still not great. D tier. Released in exactly the same year, that is 2013, as the Strike Freedom Gundam, we also got the Desinenee. So as you can see, Bande was spamming them out, and definitely for worse rather than better. Now the Desinenee Gundam is pretty meh all round, which is not necessarily a good or a bad thing per se. It's actually quite forgettable. For one, it doesn't really look very real grade-esque. It doesn't have that cool level of detail. Even though it is there somewhat, it would struggle to compete visually with high grades of today. Now overall, there's nothing really bad to say about it. Everything really works out. The wings work, the body works, I haven't found any kind of loose parts, we don't have annoying side skirts, it can stand up quite well, and overall there's nothing really great or bad to say about it. I guess in a way, for a 2013 real grade, that's a good thing. You'll get decent poses out of it, it looks nice. It definitely has a lot more detail than the actual high grade that we do have available to us, so if you do want a visually beautiful Desinenee Gundam, this one will hold up fine. So yeah, for the Desinenee Gundam, again, nothing very spectacular at all. I'll make it a D tier, definitely on the same sort of level as the Sinanju and the Strike Freedom. So I do have a color variant of the Desinenee Gundam in my collection. That is the real grade Desinenee Gundam Westenfluss version. So this is the orange version, or the cheese version, cheese flavor version of the Desinenee Gundam. Now I've moved this one around a whole lot less than the standard Desinenee Gundam, and again, this is the secret ingredient for early real grades. Build them and never move them, and they'll stay pretty strong. It's the actual moving of the kind of pre-molded inner frame that does break them down over time. So if you do avoid moving them, they won't actually break down and they will stand up fine. So if you're ever building yourself some early real grades for the looks, make sure to build them, stand them there, or just pose them once and you'll be a happy owner of the kit. If you want something for posing, these definitely aren't it. Again, exactly the same as what we would have seen, just in that orange color scheme, and my one holds up a little better than the other version because I didn't move it a lot. That's about it. Exact same kit, just a different color, D tier kit. So next up on the list is the mother of all plastic hand grenades. This right here is the real grade Justice Gundam, and man, woo, this did not do the justice. Now, I'll mention first off, this is based on MS Joint 4, aka the MS joint that was used inside of the Freedom Gundam. So essentially this is a real grade Freedom variant. And whenever there's a kind of parts variant of a kit, they don't necessarily tend to be as secure as the original one because of course they weren't necessarily fully designed to be loaded onto it. So this definitely overloads that frame and it just does not work out. This is the most botched kit I have in my collection right now. This is up there with the Master Grade Victory Gundam for how, actually no, I think that held together better. This could be the loosest kit I've ever had. Nothing holds together. The backpack is all floppy, it's all floppy, everything about it is absolutely miserable. What's pretty sad about that is, well, it's beautiful. It looks extremely nice, the proportions are cool, and I do love the color scheme they've gone with this particular version of the Justice. It is gorgeous. Again, if you're going to build one, I would recommend building one and never ever moving it. Get up and stand in a nice pose and you'll be happy. Besides that though, you know, I reviewed these kits so I have to move them around a lot, so this one broke down badly. All of its accessories kind of suck. It sucks. The whole thing sucks. This right here, F tier garbage, sadly. Be nice if you don't move it. Don't move it. Never move it. Never ever move it. So next up in here we've got one of the coolest looking Gundams of all time, and one definite fan favorite. That of course is the Gundam Astray Red Frame. Now this right here, when I built it and reviewed it, I was like, this is doing extremely well. Mainly because I didn't move it too much. Again, I can't really stress that enough. Don't move the early real grades and you'll have a good time. Move them, sad times ahead. So yeah, over time this has loosened up a little bit. This kit is absolutely allergic to its own V-fin, so make sure to cement that on or it will go missing. It barely holds on at all. But otherwise, you know, there isn't really too much in the terms of issues or problems. It can pose up, it doesn't pose up too fantastically, feels a little bit on the awkward side, and overall, it's okay. It's just kind of forgettable, really. Which is kind of sad considering just how cool the red frame actually looks. If you pop this beside some modern real grades, it pales drastically seriously in comparison. It is forgettable, but by far not the worst. When I'd first built it, I thought it was quite good, but it did kind of slowly break down over time and just didn't have that real grade massive well, aura that a lot of the newer kits have, and some of the older ones did too. So for me, it's a D tier kit. But yeah, what seems to be the golden rule of making absolutely messed up real grades, and Bandai seem to do it a lot, was let's take something that's working out relatively okay, just barely working under its own weight, and adding more weight onto it. This right here is the real grade Gold Frame Amatsu Mina. This is based on the MS Joint 10, which is exactly the same inner frame as the red frame Astray, so you can probably see where this is going. It has massive issues dealing with its own weight because it was designed for a smaller kit. Now, it's not the worst. The gloss plastic is likely to kind of fall off because gloss plastic is a little less grippy, so loss of parts is kind of possible to happen. This is again another one of those kits that if you move it a lot, it will become a marionette. You'll be able to string it up by its wings, hands, and legs and just kind of dance it around the place. It gets that flop. But out of box, again, not too bad. Visually, this is a stunner, absolutely, so it's worth it just for that. The accessories in here are unique and fun too, and the kind of mix of Astray Frame and Blitz Gundam just works so well. However, again, all the weight and all of that add-on just really does bring it down. Now, I'd actually written on the list right beside me to give this E tier, but I don't think I can bring myself to it. The visuals are enough to bring it up to D. It's definitely at least Sinanju tier when it comes to awkwardness. And of course we do have a color variant of this, and this comes to prove a point. So this right here is the gold frame Amatsu Hana. Now this one right here I haven't moved around as much as I did with the black one, so that does mean it is holding up at least a little bit better. Again, these are a little bit on the awkward side, but if you treat them nicely, don't move them too much, they will treat you well back. Overall, it does look beautiful. Again, the nice pristine white gloss just makes this look almost angelic. This is absolutely beautiful. If you've got a 1/44 scale collection, you want something that just adds a touch of sheer class to it, this is definitely one. Alright, so you can tell here from this little yellow box picture that this is premium Bande, so whether or not it is worth it to you or not to go out and grab this kit, it may be a little bit more on the expensive or hard to get side now, but yeah, it's still good, not great. D tier, just like the Amatsu Mina. So just when it seems like all hope is lost, that it's just sheer shadow and darkness around real grade seed gunpla, that it's all just met to absolute garbage, there is a shining laser beam in the darkness that blinds your eyes, that is the real grade Force Impulse Gundam. This came out in 2020, so this is past the magic year. So if you want to know what the magic year is, it's 2018, the year of the Sazabi. So a lot of the kits before 2018 can be a little bit on the funky side and have So a lot of the kits that came out before 2018 may be a little bit on the funky side with early real grade syndrome, but after 2018 this started becoming mini master grade like, and that is what this is. You build this up without any MS joint at all. I'm actually not sure where the MS joint is, it might be in the backpack, but it's kept away from the robot entirely, giving you an absolutely perfect kit. Visually this looks absolutely spectacular. This is real grade through and through, and just looks beautiful from every aspect. All of the accessories in here are perfect, with some nice features, real grade level definitely, and when it comes to posing this up, it is a dream. It's so nice to pose, it poses great, it's incredibly dynamic, and overall it is the full package. The Force Impulse Gundam is a very nice, long looking Gundam, and it really shines when it gets into aerial poses. This kit is killer, everything about it is perfect, and this, when it comes to real grade gunpla, definitely shoots right on up to the top of the list as an S tier kit. This is up there with Sazabi and New, standing shoulder to shoulder with the greatest of the greats. Not quite the fantastics of the fantastics, but it's still up there, and an amazing build. Must build, definitely. And the best thing about the real grade Impulse Gundam is Bandai went to town on the variants. So we do have a full release variant for the Seed movie, which is this one right here, the Force Impulse Gundam Spec 2. Now this is 100% exactly the same kit, it's just now in a more subdued color scheme. So if you want something with the bright colors toned down a little bit, looks a little bit more serious, but you still want the absolutely fantastic looks, engineering, and dynamicness? I don't know if I'm making up words, but it's just that good a kit. You need to make up words for it. Again, another fantastic one. It's the exact same kit, just in a slightly different color. Still S tier and amazing. And like I mentioned, Bandai went to town on this kit with the variants. Next up is the real grade Sword Impulse Gundam. So if you like yourself two giant swords instead of just your normal Gundam loadout, this is the one for you. The color scheme is also very unique when it comes to Gundam style Gundam kits because it is in red. Overall, exact same fantastic looks, exact same fantastic engineering, exact same fantastic real grade as the Force Impulse and the Force Impulse Spec 2. It looks astonishingly beautiful. But if you do want something that looks just as awesome with the exact same equipment but even more striking, there is also the Sword Impulse Spec 2. I haven't mine built just yet, but this is an entirely red Sword Impulse Gundam. It's really incredible looking, so there is that option as well. I haven't built that one, so I'm just going to rank the standard Sword Impulse, and once again, this is an absolutely S tier kit. But if you want something truly unique when it comes to the Impulse Gundam, there is another one out there that is ridiculous, absolutely. That is this one right here. This is the bastard progeny of the Impulse Gundam and the Desinenee. This right here is the Desinenee Impulse Gundam, and it's exactly what it says. It is half Impulse Gundam. The main body of the actual Gundam is full-on Impulse Gundam, again, real grade, fantastic. And the backpack is Desinenee Gundam, and the best aspect about it is, this is not just the backpack of the real grade, disappointing, standard first Desinenee Gundam. This has been retooled and redesigned for this kit, so it is a brand new set of wings, they're rock solid, full modern real grade quality, and they look spectacular. Overall, all it can do to me is make me feel a little bit sad that the Desinenee Gundam got the short end of the stick by being a pre-2018 real grade, but overall it's very, very fun, poses fantastically, and if you don't really like the backpacks or the kind of equipment that comes with these standard impulses, go for this one right here. I'll also mention there is a blast impulse as well. I haven't built that one just yet either, but I do have it sitting on the floor over there, so I'll get around to that sometime soon. But as for the Desinenee Impulse, once again, it's exactly the same great level S tier kit. So closing the chapter now on one universe, which is Gundam Seed, and opening it on the next one, which is Gundam 00. We do have a handful of releases from 00, not quite as much as we would have seen from the last two universes, and we're going to be starting it off with the real grade Exia Gundam. So this real grade right here came out in 2014 on its own MS joint, so it does mean it was built from the ground up for this particular kit, and the kind of teething issues of the past with the Seed kits had kind of disappeared a little bit, so this isn't so bad. Overall, aesthetically, it is okay. It doesn't really have too much of the actual kind of real grade look to it. I'd actually say there's some high grades out there that would definitely even put this to shame. Overall, it is very nice. It does look nice. Thankfully, it's not as fragile as some of the other kits out there, and the accessories in here are nice, and it does have one of my overall favorite Gundam weapons, which is the GN sword, which has been executed okay. Overall, I'd say okay is probably the best way to put it. It's not falling apart too much on me, and speaking of falling apart, there is also an option set available. You can probably tell that this one right here is not the standard release kit, because my standard release one was modified into the Exia Repair with the sold separately parts. Now this is absolutely garbage. I will just say that. The Exia Repair parts, woo, not good at all. That I wouldn't recommend at all. I wish I had my standard Exia back, to be blatantly honest. But yeah, the overall standard Exia, I've built the variants a couple of times and it holds up nicely. The accessories are nice. Don't move it around too much. The hips are quite loose and they can pop off. But overall, it's not the worst experience when it comes to real grade kits, but it's definitely far from the best either. It does look quite nice, and sometimes that is really all that matters. For me, the real grade Exia Gundam is definitely D tier. As for the actual Exia Repair parts when they're attached onto an Exia, ooh, that I do not recommend at all. That is some F tier gutter stuff. So quickly jumping into a couple of variants that I have knocking around. First up is the Exia Repair III. Again, pretty much similar to your standard Exia, just with some color variants and some weapon variants. There's a bit of a comparison to the two we had just seen before, and overall this is the exact same sort of kit with new color. We do have some new weapons in here which are quite fun. We've got a long-range weapon as well as a variant updated version of the GN sword which has some clear effect GN kind of style parts as opposed to the metal-looking blade. So again, this is one of those ones that's kind of just depend on your own personal taste with the design of the Exia, what you like. Overall, again with this, it's quite plain for a real grade, which is kind of a comment on the overall real grade Exia itself. Again, not great, not bad. They're always better right out of box than when you pose them up a few times, and if you like this color version, and don't mind paying premium for it, it's really not any different. What did I rank the Exia? Oh, D tier. This is also D tier. Next up, we've got another Exia variant. This is Premium Bandai yet again, and it's a far damn sight different looking than the standard Exia, because this right here is the real grade Astray, which of course was the prototype for Exia. This is in a nice shocking red color, and there is a lot of accessories inside of the box. Actually, this kit's strength compared to the standard regular Exia kits is just how much accessories the box is packing. Visually, it is so much different. There are some options for design of the face, and you've got a loadout here that is an absolute armory. So if you like messing through parts and changing the equipment on your kit, this is good for that. However, the kit doesn't take well to posing, so changing things out a lot is just kind of weakening up the kit per se. So in a way, it's a bit of a catch-22. You get a lot of stuff, but if you use that lot of stuff and pose it a lot, you're going to break down the kit. Overall, it's nice. The equipment is very, very nice, but it's still the same kit at its core, making it another D tier kit for me. And if it's worth the price for you, I say go for it. It looks really, really cool. And the accessories are really, really nice. It's still the standard Exia on the inside though. Fast forwarding one more year into 2015, and this is the real grade Gundam 00. Now, you can really tell at this point that Bandai started to water down real grades by releasing them too often, because visually this barely even looks like a real grade at all. It's missing all of the characteristics that a real grade is meant to have. It doesn't have the nice color separation or anything like that. At first glance, you could almost think this was just a nice high grade, but yeah, overall visually it does lack the nice real grade kind of appeal. Again, thinking back to the first RX 78-2, that had so much nice color separation and parts variation to make it look like a Gundam that exists within reality. This right here just looks like another version of the real grade Gundam 00. Again, this can come down to your own subjective opinion of how you want to look anime accurate or real world real looking, but this one right here definitely doesn't do much to look very real grade-esque. However, thankfully this is a damn sight sturdier than the standard real grade Exia and a very nice kit overall. Without the kind of visual real grade kind of complaints about it, it does look very nice. It does feel very nice, and overall it's quite good. The only issues I've ever really had are with the GN drives up and the shoulders kind of falling off every now and then, but overall it stands up to time very well. And it actually stands up very well too. Overall, it is a very nice real grade kit. A little sad that it did come pre-2018, but it's still not awful. Honestly, as far as older real grades go, this one's not bad. The 00 for me is a C tier kit. Definitely worth the purchase. Now, if you're into variant kits, there is a variant of this that is completely and utterly over the top. That is the 00 Zan Riser. This is exactly the exact same kit, the same Gundam 00 at its core, but now it's got the Zan Riser with it, which is just a kind of another supplementary unit that flies around it, combines onto it, and gives it some obscene weaponry, including a giant buster sword. Overall, this does look great. Now, I will mention, I reviewed this kit and I just got it into a pose. That's all I did. That is my recommendation for older real grades. Never, ever, ever move them and you'll have a happy time. I'm having a happy time with this kit because of that. But at the same time, I'm someone who loves posing my kit, so it is a letdown that I can't actually pose it without degrading it. That is the curse of older real grades. They look good, but you cannot touch. So clocking ahead one more year into the future, into 2016, we got another Gundam 00 kit, which was the real grade Gundam 00 Quanta. Once again, it's hard to believe that this is based on MS Joint 7, which is the Exia inner frame, which is exactly the same one which was inside the Gundam 00 as well. Here it actually does very, very, very well. This kit overall is exceptionally good compared to what we would have seen previously. It seems like at this point, Bandai was starting to learn that the MS joints weren't that great. The arms in this are completely brand new, and it does make it a very much stronger kit. Overall, visually, I do feel it kind of lacks the real grade kind of aesthetic. It is very simple looking for a real grade, with a very barely real grade kind of look to it. Overall, the detail is very nice. It is very good and strong. The accessories in here are incredibly, incredibly nice and modular, so you can build them up in a bunch of different ways. The shield on the shoulder, use them as bits, attach them onto the sword for a nice buster sword, and overall the Quanta itself is quite strong and everything works out well. Posability is decent in here too, and overall definitely a very nice kit. You can feel the early real grade syndrome just kind of evaporating out of the kits around this time. Bandai was learning, and learning well, And out of all the 00 kits we have seen, this one right here to me is the best, making it definitely a B tier, almost perfect real grade. So there we go, closing the door on what was the real grade 00 kits, and now we're moving on to real grade Gundam Wing, starting with Gundam Wing itself. So starting off with the iconic looking version of Wing Gundam, the one that we all remember from the TV show, because this is the TV version. Now this is a kit that came out in 2021, so that is a post-2018 kit. This builds up like a mini master grade, and it's all the better for it. Honestly, just picking up these kits, you can feel the difference immediately. After touching the 00 kits, this feels so goddamn good. It's such a nice kit. Visually, it is a little bit on the plain side. I guess it doesn't really look very real grady, but it is almost a perfect replica of what we would have seen in the show, and I guess that is what matters. Overall, the MS joint aspects of this kit have been relegated to just around on the transforming wings. And yes, the wings do have a little bit of a real grade exclusive kind of movement to them, so they can separate out very nicely. Now, we'll mention this is also a kit that does have a full transformation to bird mode, so even though it does have a transformation, that doesn't undermine the actual robot form itself, and the transformation is simple and effective. Now, the only thing that's kind of annoying on it is those little claws on the forearms. You have to move them every time you're bending the arms, but overall this kit is nice. The accessories in here are nice too, and this is one of those kits that just falls perfectly into poses. It's so nice to pose. Posing it will not break it down because it is designed as a full-on model kit without those rubbery MS joints, and this is just such a joy. If you love Gundam Wing, you collect 1/44th scale kits, this is one you absolutely need. This is fantastic. The only thing I'd rank it down a little bit on is it does feel a little bit on the simplistic side for something that is a real grade. Again, Wing Gundams are small, so they have to pack it into a small little package, so even though it is an absolutely fantastic kit, it's not quite New Gundam and Sazabi fantastic to me. This is more of a unicorn and crossbone fantastic. A-tier kit. So essentially the exact same Gundam as the one we just looked at. This is the Katoki Hajime design. So the last one was the Kunio Okara version, which was the TV version. This is a redesign in Katoki's style. So this has, well, this came out in 2016, so it is a pre-2018 kit, so it definitely has an MS joint inside of it. That is MS joint 9, which is also in the chicken-winged version of Wing. And overall, this isn't the kind of whiplash I would have expected from moving from a post-2018 kit to a pre-2018 kit. This one actually deals with being an early real grade quite well. I think that's because it is a kind of lightweight kit. Even the wings round back are lightweight. It doesn't really do too much, doesn't really look overly real grady per se, but it is an interesting design. It can look a little bit awkward just standing there, but once you get it into a flying pose, it does look nice, streamlined, and unique. It's got a long variant version of the Buster cannon, and overall it's pretty good. Aesthetically, it's nice, equipment is nice, it poses nice. Overall, I guess it's nice. For me, the EW version of Gundam Wing is a C tier kit. Not bad. So going from one Wing EW to another Wing EW, this is one of the most iconic Gundam designs around. This is the real grade Wing 0 EW. Now this has those big chicken wings round back, which a lot of people absolutely adore. They're very unique when it comes to Gundam designs, and what can I say? It just looks stupendously crazy. Now, all I can say is with this particular kit, it's not quite as good as some other Wing 0 EWs out there. And even though this is pretty much based on, or should I say, the last wing we just looked at is based on this kit, somehow this one feels a little worse off for it. It has a little bit more issue kind of holding on to things. The big old wings can kind of get awkward and in the way and stuff, but at the same time it is essentially the same kit. I just don't know why it's just not working out as well. Accessories wise, they're decent enough. Visually, this is quite nice. And when it does come to the overall posability, it is a little bit on the S side. I'm not exactly sure what it is. It just does not feel quite as good as what we just looked at. For me, the Wing 0 EW is not quite the same tier as the actual Wing EW. This one to me is a D tier kit. So moving away from the wing now to the Tallgeese, and we do have multiple variations of this to look at. First up is the standard release, full-on regular Tallgeese 1. Overall, this is an exceptionally nice kit. It's got a lot of flaps and bits going on that can kind of clash with each other and get a little bit awkward at times, but it looks stupendously nice. The Dober gun is so nicely designed, the armor panels look great on it, it is in a gloss white that is done perfectly. And there is no loose parts. A lot of the parts may get in the way of each other, but nothing will ever fall off this kit. It just has been engineered so nicely. And I've posed the crap out of this because I like it so much. And it's been holding up so good. Again, this is one of those kits that's kind of a day walker. It's walking the line between older and newer real grades. This right here is a 2018 kit, but it is pre-Sazabi, so it still does have some MS joint inside of it, but a limited amount. It's used mainly just in some of the joints, and they are supported by actual full-on plastic parts, which does make it gel together nicely. This is a very good kit. The equipment is absolutely beautiful. We've got that Dober gun like I mentioned, the shield up in the shoulder, and when it comes to the posability, this poses up nicely and looks even better in poses than it does in standing poses. A great kit, quite similar to what we would have seen with the Unicorn Gundam, kind of being a little bit of an old school early real grade, new school real grade combo hybrid. To me, it's extremely good and a B tier kit. And then we've got the variants. So first up is the real grade Tallgeese TV version. So this is the exact same kit, it's just they've toned down the colors to what you would have seen in the TV anime. Because of course, all that yellow we see on the real grade kit is not in it. So yeah, if you want something that is a little bit more like what you would have seen in the TV show, then this is the one to go for. Of course, this is a premium Bandai kit though, so you may have to pay a little bit more for it, or it might be hard to find. It's strange that they actually broke it up like this though. Anyway, this is the exact same kit, so it gets the exact same ranking, so the real grade TV version of Tallgeese is a B tier kit as well. And the next kit I have in my collection right here is the real grade Tallgeese III, another variant of the Tallgeese kit. Now you might be wondering where's the Tallgeese II. I have this really weird curse. Somehow I've never managed to get a Tallgeese II. Whether it's the master grade or the real grade, I've never found any. I've said that I'm going to review the kit, I did actually say it in a video, but I can't find one that isn't obnoxiously expensive, so I'm still waiting to find a real grade Tallgeese II. However, when it does come to the real grade Tallgeese III, it's the exact same kit as the standard Tallgeese. It's just a color and parts variation. The head has a nice new crest, and the weapons on both of the shoulders are new. We've got a big old cannon on the right hand side replacing the Dober gun, and the shield has an Epion-esque kind of whip to it. Otherwise, it's the exact same kit, the exact same quality, and it really just comes down to your preference of Tallgeese here. It's just as good as that kit, and by that kit I mean the standard Tallgeese Gundam, so this is another fantastic B tier Tallgeese. But when it comes to real grade wing gunpla, it's time to hail to the king. This right here is the real grade Gundam Epion, and it is head and shoulders. No, it's crotch, waist, head and shoulders above the rest when it comes to quality. Where the real grade Tallgeese walked, the real grade Epion flies. This is a mini master grade style kit. Actually, scratch that, that's an offense to this kit. This absolutely trounces the master grade version in absolutely every way. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. Now, first off, this came out in 2023, so it's very new, and it is very after 2018, so it is phenomenal. This does have a MS joint in it, but it's just in the heat rod, so, well, to say it pretty much is the heat rod, and it's ridiculously impressive the way it builds up. This is a fully transformable kit, so it can be transformed into the kind of double-headed dragon mode, and everything about this is astoundingly perfect. It's real grade through and through. This has multiple colors for each of the colors on it. The color separation is off the charts. The detailing is off the charts. The build is phenomenal. It just feels perfect. This is the perfect real grade wing kit. This is an outstanding, miraculous, beautiful thing. If you love Gundam Wing, you want the best 1/44th scale kit that there is out there, this is it by far. The real grade Gundam Epion is absolutely spectacular with its giant sword, and this goes right to the top. It's XS tier, best of the best. So yeah, that is another chapter closed. That's the wing kits completed and ending on a high note with the Epion. So next up we've got RG Gundam. Now, there is only one kit right now, but the second of the line is coming out very, very soon, which is the Shining Gundam, so you might as well jump into the one that we do have, which is the real grade God Gundam. So the real grade God Gundam here came out in 2022, and it was the only real grade release of the year. Just like in 2023, the only real grade we got was Epyon, and I'm all about that. If we get one real grade in a year and it is absolute perfection, I prefer that to 4 absolutely kind of meh or subpar kits personally. However, with this kit, it just skirted right beside absolute perfection, but slightly missed it. Overall, this is an absolutely beautiful kit. It looks phenomenal. Just look at how good it looks. This is a real return to form for real grade. The kind of shadow thoughts of the not so real grade-y looking real grades from the mid 2010s are gone, and real grades look like real grades once again. The color separation is amazing. We've got some nice textures and colors and glossiness to the plastics. And that's all combined with this thing's absolutely over-the-top articulation. This thing can pose up better than pretty much everything out there, and it's got perfect balance. It's just the perfect package. When it comes to the accessories in here, it's just kind of what you need. And that's pretty much about it, but this kit is all about the God Gundam itself, its looks and its posability. Now, the one kind of weird aspect here is Bande went back to adding the MS joint into the actual mobile suit itself. They put the MS joint into its arms, so its arms are kind of noodly messes. They do loosen up over the time, and they just don't feel that good. Thankfully, it's not a kit that has to hold anything up, but you can always feel it when you are posing it. It was a weird choice on Bandai's part, and that's why the real great God Gundam, which should have shot right up to XS tier, is an S tier kit. It's quite good. Actually, no, it's fantastic, but those arms quite literally let it down. And of course, there is one variant of the real grade God Gundam. That right there is the real grade God Gundam Hyper Mode. This right here is the Gundam base exclusive version with gold plating. This comes with a whole lot of nice stuff inside the box, a nice display background, and as you can see, it is a very nice plated kit. Overall, it's just as good as the God Gundam itself. It's pretty much the exact same thing, but of course you will be paying a premium price for it, for a premium kind of kit. I'm going to knock it down 1 grade, of course, because you do get some like little nips on the surface of the kit where you cut it out that you cannot fix. So for me, the real grade Hyper Gundam, or should I say the real grade God Gundam Hyper Mode, is an A tier kit as opposed to an S tier kit, just because of that coating. So at this point right here, I'm just going to go through the other real grade kits that I do have that are non-Gundam. So first off is the real grade Evangelion kits. Now, first off, I'm just going to say, these are pretty much all exactly the same. At their core, they're the same kind of design, the same actual kit, the same actual runners, just with some color and mild parts variations, and some differences within the actual equipment that come inside of the box, but they are the same quality all around. These are fantastic kits. They build up spectacularly. They look so good, but overall, over time, just kind of in a real grade sort of way, they can loosen up a little bit and become floppy. I do say to make sure not to move them too much. That will save you a little bit. I do find with at least my Eva Unit 1, it's having some real issues when it comes to the little parts up in the bicep. They fall off all of the time. This doesn't seem to be on the later ones as far as what I've seen. Maybe it's just the color separation or something like that. Maybe I've moved the kit around a lot more than the other ones. But overall, they're very nice kits. They do have some issues again. Over time, they can kind of break down, but if you treat them well, they will do quite well. So when it comes to the Eva kits, I say every single, where did you go? Every single one of them to me is A tier. So A tier, number 1, 0, this one, that one, the other one, they're all pretty much the same. Those are the ones I've actually built. And again, I love them. They're all pretty great. They're all awesome. I have a couple more I need to get around to, and they are very, very nice. The last kind of one then is the real grade Gao Gai Gar. That is an exceptionally nice kit, an exceptionally nice kit. It builds up out of a whole bunch of different parts that combine together, so it's not really like much else that's out there, and it definitely really isn't like a lot of other kits. Does it even feel like a real grade? It's kind of hard to say. There's definitely a lot more detail to it than a high grade, so it's definitely real grade-esque. It's got a lot to it. There's a lot going on. I do recommend watching the review if you do want to see a deep dive into this actual kit. It did give me a little bit of issues when I was actually doing this video because one of its feet decided it was going to pop off, and it needs disassembly in order to attach it back on because it attaches in kind of weirdly to the side. Overall, good kit. I do have the Goldie Mark that I need to actually get around to too. And again, this is going to be a very vague kind of ranking of this kit because hey, get back here. I don't actually remember it too well. But if I was to pop it with something, I think it'd be an A tier rank as well. It's definitely not up there with the likes of the new Gundam and the Sazabi, but it's still quite nice. However, I do kind of feel like it's better than some of those. Nah, screw it. Go. S tier. It's nicer than those kits in A tier, definitely. So there we go, there's absolutely every single real grade kit I have in my collection and that I've built. I've been building these for years, since I started, or should I say restarted Gunpla back in 2011, so some of these are almost 15 years in my collection. Now there is one thing you can definitely say about real grade. Every single one of these kits is a visual masterpiece. They are all beautiful, small scale, crazy kits. The older ones may have some issues if you move them around a lot. If you don't move them, you won't have those issues. The newer ones, they are absolutely perfect through and through. Now at the beginning of the video I did say that I'd compare my list with Joe's, so here they are. Joe's is on the left, mine is on the right, so you can see that there are a lot of similarities, some differences, so even though there are some pillar kits in the real grade line that everyone's going to love, there are some niche ones too that, depending on your preferences, you will like or dislike. Now, ones that completely overlapped, that is up top, absolutely perfect, is the High New Gundam. S tier for both of us. The New Gundam also overlapped. A tier, the Crossbone Gundam, nothing overlapped in B tier. C tier was the original RX-78-2 and the Wing Gundam EW, and a D tier then, the overlap, was the Amatsu Mina. Now the other thing I really wanted to see is, what were the ones that really kind of polarized or deviated from each other? So these are the kits right here that were separated by at least more than 2 tiers. So this is interesting to see. Now I will mention at this point, I did upgrade my ranking of the Red Frame because I realized it should not be down there with the likes of Exia and the Amatsu Mina. So I did bumped them up to C. But anyway, the ones that did not overlap were the Zephyranthus. Quite the polarized opinion right there. The Zaku, now that one I will just say, I based these on the high mobility Zaku because I didn't have mines on hand. So I would say totally listen to Joe in that regard. I didn't have them hands on right now, so I'm just gonna have to find them and check them out. And the other ones that would have polarized quite a bit were the Justice Gundam, the Force Impulse Spec 2, the Astray Red Frame, and the Exia. Now I will mention as well, if you do want to do this tier list yourself, there is actually a community rank on Tier Maker. So if you go over, find this list, I'll throw a link down the description, you can do it too, and if enough people do it, we'll actually end up with a kind of community voted average, which I think would be pretty cool. So again, I do recommend you check it out, rank the kits that you have, and we'll see what we end up with. Anyway, what's your opinion? What are the real grade kits you'd recommend to other builders? What are the kits you would definitely not recommend? Drop them down there in the comments. Also, if you do want to see more tier lists, let me know. I'm going to be organizing through all of my kits, and I do want your opinion. How should I organize them if I do them? When it comes to high grades and master grades, you can never get them on one list. So should I break them down by year, series, or line? Let me know. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla news, reviews, and rankings, and I'll see you next time. As always, all these videos on here would not be possible without each and every one of you guys watching these videos, so thank you so much. And special thanks to those of you who are helping out over on the Patreon, as well as on the channel members, including Abraxas, Caleb Engelhart, Joe, RG 59061, Scotty Thomas, Simon, and Van Fawn.